On Friday, the 18th of June, Iran went to polls to decide its eighth president as incumbent leader Hassan Rouhani prepared to leave office after 8 years. With inflation soaring and unemployment hitting record figures, the election was seen as highly consequential for the future of the Islamic Republic. But on the contrary, less than 50% of the eligible 60 million voters turned out to cast their ballots. Either way, a new president was elected, the same person who was widely seen as the frontrunner during the campaign and even the potential successor to Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah. So why did so many Iranians refuse to vote in these elections? Who's the new president? And should the country be optimistic about the future after his mandate? There are plenty of reasons why so many Iranians were skeptical of these elections and hence refrained from voting. But let's start with this. Most of the reformists were barred from running for presidency by the Guardian Council, a constitutional body that wields considerable power in Iran and is headed by none other than the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei himself. That's because reformists seek to improve relations with the West and grant Iranian people more social and political freedoms, something which the ultra-conservative Ayatollah doesn't agree with, and hence disqualified them from running. But this didn't go down well with the Iranians, who saw this as a brazen attempt at a power grab by the hardliners to establish an authoritarian regime, even as the people are desperate for more democratic reforms.
People have lost trust, considering the past 8 years when many promises were made, especially to us, the younger generation, and none of which came to anything.
Then there is growing frustration with the country's deep economic malaise, as inflation this year reached its highest point in a while, causing prices of goods to soar even more.
Since last year, prices of some items have gradually increased by 30 to 50%. Pasta, noodles, salad dressings, tuna, tomato paste, everything you can imagine has had a 30 to 40% price rise in just 1 year.
While the US sanctions have surely played their part here, Iran has also dealt with a crippling wave of COVID-19, which killed more than 82,000 people and resulted in tremendous job losses too. All this has led to many Iranians losing faith in their political leaders and hence saw no point in participating in these elections.
در این انتخابات قطعاً بی‌نتیجه خواهد بود، چرا که همه افرادی که واجد شرایط انتخابات میشن از فیلتر جمهوری اسلامی رد میشن.
Now let's talk about the new Iranian president who won by a landslide. Ibrahim Raisi was elected after winning 17.8 million votes, while his closest rival got only 3.3 million. However, this outcome was largely expected by the Iranians because Raisi is a staunch ally of the supreme leader, who even made him the head of the judiciary in 2019. But what he is most notably known for or infamous for is mass executions. After the Islamic Revolution, Raisi served as a prosecutor in several cities across Iran under Ayatollah Khamenei, where he jailed and handed death penalties to thousands of political activists and dissenters, something he is allegedly justified under a fatwa, or a religious ruling by the then supreme leader. The US and the European Union have both imposed sanctions on Raisi for his role in these executions. He even contested the 2017 presidential elections but lost to Hassan Rouhani, coming second in the race with 38% of the vote, but successfully won the mandate in this election on the promise of bringing economic changes and fighting poverty and corruption. So, should the Iranians be optimistic about their future under his rule? Raisi has vowed to strengthen public trust in the government, but his close proximity to Ayatollah Khamenei and given the elections were essentially designed to favor him, doesn't inspire much hope in the Iranians. His ultra-conservative political views also mean that Iran's foreign policies aren't going to change for the better, especially when it comes to the nuclear deal. Negotiations are still ongoing to save the deal that was left in tatters after the US pulled out of it under former President Donald Trump.
The United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal.
Even as Iran continues enriching uranium to its highest levels ever. Tensions with Israel, another old foe of Iran, also remains high after the country allegedly carried out a series of attacks targeting Iran's nuclear sites, which even killed their top atomic scientist. An Israeli minister has even slammed Raisi as the most extremist president of Iran yet, while some are calling him the butcher of Tehran. So where does all this lead to? Raisi inherits a country that is mired in deep economic crisis, and how this new president pulls them out of the lurch is anyone's guess. But the bigger concern facing Iran right now is that his possible hardline stance on the nuclear deal could keep Iran an international pariah state.